Welcome, fans of the intricate dance of mind and narrative. Today, we delve into the shadowed corridors of the criminal underworld portrayed in Mafia I, where loyalty and betrayal are not mere themes but the bedrock of existence. So, buckle up, and let's explore cognition, emotion, and the enduring question of what it means to be loyal. Mafia I is a landmark in video gaming, celebrated for its immersive narrative, authentic portrayal of the Prohibition-era mafia, and complex character development. Beneath the veneer of thrilling car chases and violent confrontations lies a nuanced exploration of human psychology, particularly concerning themes of loyalty, betrayal, and the moral compromises required by life within the mob. Through a detailed analysis, this essay embarks on a cognitive and psychological exploration of the game's narrative, examining how Mafia I engages players in moral reasoning, decision-making, and empathy. By situating players in the shoes of Tommy Angelo, a cab driver turned mobster, the game challenges them to navigate the treacherous waters of mafia politics and personal ethics, provoking deep introspection about justice, loyalty, and the human capacity for change. Mafia I, a narrative-rich journey through the heart of the 1930s criminal underworld, stands as a monumental achievement in video game storytelling, capturing the complex dynamics of loyalty, betrayal, and the pursuit of the American dream gone awry. Set in the fictional city of Lost Heaven, a melting pot of opportunity and corruption, the game masterfully recreates the ambience of the Prohibition era, complete with its jazz-infused air, classic automobiles, and the omnipresent shadow of organized crime. The story unfolds through the eyes of Tommy Angelo, a taxi driver whose mundane life takes a dramatic turn one fateful night. Initially reluctant, Tommy finds himself drawn into the mafia world after a serendipitous encounter with two members of the Salieri crime family. This pivotal moment marks the beginning of Tommy's descent into the mafia's ranks, seduced by the allure of easy money and the sense of power and belonging the family offers. As players guide Tommy through his journey, they witness his transformation from an average Joe to a respected mobster within the Salieri family. The game meticulously details Tommy's ascent, from his initial tasks as a low-level enforcer to his involvement in significant heists, brutal confrontations with rival gangs, and his pivotal role in the Salieri family's endeavors to dominate Lost Heaven's underworld. However, Mafia I is more than a tale of crime and ambition. It is a narrative deeply imbued with moral complexity and psychological depth. Tommy's story is one of constant tension between his growing loyalty to the Salieri family and the pangs of his conscience as he confronts the brutality of his actions. This internal conflict is the game's backbone, compelling players to navigate a labyrinth of moral dilemmas and personal loyalties. Tommy encounters diverse characters throughout his journey, each bringing their perspectives and motivations to the rich tapestry of Lost Heaven's mafia life. From Don Salieri, the pragmatic and calculating leader, to Polly and Sam, Tommy's closest allies within the family, players are immersed in a world where trust is precious and betrayal is a constant threat. The relationships Tommy forms and the choices he makes significantly influence the game's narrative, leading to moments of intense loyalty, tragic betrayal, and heartfelt redemption. The city of Lost Heaven is a character, offering players a vivid depiction of 1930s America, from its bustling downtown to the quiet, menacing outskirts where the mafia's power is law. The game's attention to historical detail, from the architecture to the vehicles and even the socio-political climate of the time, enhances the immersive experience, transporting players to an era where the line between right and wrong is blurred by ambition and survival. In Mafia I, loyalty and betrayal are not merely thematic underpinnings but the essence that drives the narrative and shapes the player's experience. The game intricately weaves these themes through its story, challenging players to confront the moral complexities of life within the mob. As Tommy Angelo's story unfolds, players are constantly forced to evaluate and reevaluate where their loyalties lie, navigating a precarious path through alliances and enmities that can shift with the wind. One of the most striking examples of loyalty is Tommy's relationship with Polly and Sam, his closest allies within the Salieri crime family. These bonds are forged in the heat of shared trials and tribulations, from executing daring heists to facing off against rival gangs in the bloody turf wars that plague Lost Heaven. Each mission alongside Polly and Sam deepens the sense of camaraderie, creating an illusion of unbreakable loyalty. However, this sense of brotherhood is continually tested, as the game subtly sows seeds of doubt and foreshadows the high price of loyalty in the Mafia world. The theme of betrayal is masterfully highlighted in the game's pivotal moments, where trust is betrayed, and the true nature of the Mafia's loyalty is revealed. A defining moment occurs when the Salieri family betrays Tommy, a brutal awakening to the reality that loyalty in the Mafia is often contingent upon one's usefulness to the family's ambitions. This betrayal marks a turning point in Tommy's life. It serves as a critical moment of introspection for the player, prompting a re-evaluation of the relationships formed within the game and the values they represent. Moreover, the game explores the nuances of betrayal through the lens of its antagonist, Frank Coletti, the Salieri family's consigliere. Frank's eventual betrayal of the family, driven by his desire to protect his own, offers a complex view of loyalty and betrayal, blurring the lines between right and wrong. While deemed treacherous by the Mafia's code, his actions are portrayed with a degree of empathy, highlighting the human aspect of his decision and adding depth to the game's exploration of these themes. The consequences of loyalty and betrayal extend beyond the confines of the Salieri family, affecting the lives of those outside the Mafia's immediate circle. Tommy's relationship with his wife, Sarah, and his efforts to shield her from the darker aspects of his life underscore the personal cost of his loyalty to the Mafia. Similarly, the game's climax, which revolves around a final act of betrayal, underscores the pervasive impact of these themes, bringing Tommy's story full circle and leaving the player to ponder the true meaning of loyalty in a world governed by betrayal. Through these examples and more, Mafia I constructs a world where loyalty and betrayal are the currency of survival, each decision echoing through the narrative and shaping the fate of its characters. The game challenges players to navigate this world, confronting the moral dilemmas that arise from the complex interplay of loyalty, betrayal, and the quest for power. In doing so, Mafia I offers a profound commentary on the human condition, inviting players to reflect on the values that guide their actions and the legacies they leave behind. Mafia I expertly navigates the psychological landscape of cognitive dissonance and moral decision-making, presenting players with dilemmas that test the boundaries of loyalty, ethics, and personal morality. Tommy Angelo embodies this struggle, as his ascent within the Salieri crime family increasingly pits his ingrained moral values against the ruthless demands of Mafia life. This internal conflict, deeply rooted in cognitive dissonance, challenges players to reconcile Tommy's actions with their understanding of right and wrong, offering a profound exploration of morality in the face of existential threats. A poignant example of this cognitive dissonance is witnessed in the mission where Tommy is ordered to assassinate a traitor to the Salieri family. The act itself, a grim testament to the Mafia's ruthless code of loyalty, forces players to grapple with the moral implications of loyalty that demand murder. This mission encapsulates the essence of cognitive dissonance in the game, the conflict between Tommy's sense of duty to the family that has given him power and status and his innate sense of morality that rebels against the act of killing in cold blood. Players must navigate this moral labyrinth, making choices that either align with the Mafia's expectations or adhere to a personal moral compass, often at the expense of Tommy's standing within the family. Another significant moment of cognitive dissonance and moral decision-making occurs during a mission involving the protection of a speakeasy. Here, Tommy is forced to confront the violence and corruption that underpin the Salieri family's business operations. The juxtaposition of the family's outward camaraderie and internal ruthlessness heightens the player's sense of cognitive dissonance. As Tommy, players defend illegal operations that exploit the community. Tommy once served as a cab driver, challenging them to reconcile their actions with their perceptions of justice and loyalty. The game further complicates moral decision-making by exploring the consequences of Tommy's actions on those around him. For instance, Tommy's involvement in the Mafia inevitably places his loved ones in danger, a reality that comes to the forefront when his family becomes a target. This realization forces Tommy, and by extension, the player, to confront the tangible outcomes of his moral compromises, amplifying the cognitive dissonance experienced. Despite the personal risks, the decision to continue serving the Salieri family underscores the complex interplay between loyalty, morality, and self-preservation. Mafia I reaches a crescendo of cognitive dissonance in its climax, where Tommy faces the ultimate moral decision that defines his fate and the legacy he leaves behind. This moment, steeped in betrayal and the pursuit of redemption, encapsulates the game's exploration of moral ambiguity. It compels players to weigh the value of loyalty against the cost of freedom, challenging them to make a decision that reconciles Tommy's desire for atonement with the reality of his past actions. Through these examples, Mafia I intricately weaves a narrative that probes the depths of cognitive dissonance and moral decision-making. It presents players with a nuanced portrayal of morality, where decisions are not black and white but exist in a gray area shaped by loyalty, ambition, and the human capacity for change. The game masterfully uses cognitive dissonance as a narrative device and a mechanism for deep psychological engagement, challenging players to reflect on their values and decisions in the face of moral complexity. Mafia I deeply engages with themes of empathy and connection, weaving these human experiences through the narrative to enrich the player's emotional journey and deepen the moral complexity of the game. The story of Tommy Angelo is filled with moments that challenge players to empathize with characters living on the moral fringes of society, thereby fostering a connection that transcends the game's criminal backdrop. One of the earliest and most potent examples of empathy in the game occurs through Tommy's interactions with Sarah, his future wife. The protection mission where Tommy defends Sarah from attackers is not just about physical defense but also a pivotal moment of emotional connection. Players are drawn into Tommy's growing sense of responsibility and care for Sarah, which humanizes him beyond the mobster role. This relationship serves as a beacon of normalcy and genuine human connection in Tommy's life, contrasting sharply with the violence and betrayal inherent in his mafia dealings. Through Sarah, players experience the game's world not just as gangsters but as individuals striving for personal happiness amidst chaos. Another significant moment that exemplifies empathy in the game is Tommy's interaction with Frank Coletti, the consigliere of the Salieri family, mainly when tasked with confronting him about his betrayal. The mission is fraught with tension, not just from the threat of violence but from the emotional turmoil of confronting a trusted figure who is seen as part of the mafia family. Frank's decision to protect his real family, even at the cost of his loyalty to the Salieri family, forces Tommy and the players to empathize with his predicament. This moment challenges players to see beyond the black and white morality of loyalty and betrayal, encouraging them to understand the human motivations behind Frank's actions. Furthermore, the narrative arc involving the race car driver from the game's early missions illustrates how empathy and connection are not limited to direct relationships. Tommy's reluctant agreement to sabotage a race car and the subsequent repercussions of this act demonstrates how even peripheral characters in the game's world are imbued with depth and humanity. The empathy players feel for the driver, whose career and dreams are shattered by Tommy's actions, adds a layer of regret and complexity to the gameplay, highlighting the far-reaching consequences of the player's actions within the game's ecosystem. The game also explores empathy by depicting the various members of the Salieri family, particularly Polly and Sam. As Tommy's closest allies, their shared experiences, from thrilling heists to dire betrayals, create a bond that invites players to empathize with their struggles, loyalties, and eventual fates. The camaraderie and moments of vulnerability shared among these characters provide a nuanced view of life within the mafia, challenging players to see these individuals beyond their criminal actions as people with their dreams, fears, and loyalties. Mafia I uses these moments of empathy and connection to weave a rich tapestry of human experience, drawing players into a world where personal relationships and moral dilemmas blur the lines between right and wrong. Through its complex characters and emotional narrative arcs, the game challenges players to engage empathetically with the story, fostering a deeper connection to the game's world and its inhabitants. This empathetic engagement enhances the storytelling and enriches the player's experience, making Mafia I a compelling exploration of the human condition within the context of organized crime. Mafia I delves into existential themes of power, identity, and the self with a narrative that compellingly mirrors the tumultuous journey of its protagonist, Tommy Angelo. Throughout the game, Tommy's evolving relationship with power and his struggle for identity are portrayed against the backdrop of the criminal underworld, offering players a profound exploration of the existential dilemmas that define the human experience. One of the game's pivotal moments that encapsulates Tommy's existential quest for identity occurs during his initiation into the Salieri crime family. Beyond its immediate implications of loyalty and belonging, this ceremony symbolizes Tommy's surrender of his previous identity as an ordinary cab driver in exchange for the power and protection afforded by his new Mafia identity. This transformation is not merely external, it reflects a more profound, existential shift within Tommy as he grapples with the loss of his former self and the adoption of a new persona crafted by his choices and actions within the Mafia. The initiation scene is a powerful exploration of identity, forcing players to contemplate the cost of power and the fluidity of self in a life built on violence and ambition. Another example of existential reflection on identity is Tommy's interactions with Detective Norman, particularly towards the game's conclusion. In these moments, Tommy's narrative serves as a confession and a reflection on his life's path and the choices that led him to this point. Players are invited to ponder questions of responsibility and redemption through these exchanges. Tommy's decision to testify against the Salieri family, in essence, represents an attempt to reclaim a part of his identity lost to the Mafia's corrupting influence. This act of defiance against the power structure he once embraced highlights the existential struggle for autonomy and self-definition in a world where choices are often dictated by survival rather than morality. Furthermore, the existential theme of identity is underscored through the game's depiction of the transient nature of power. As Tommy rises through the ranks of the Salieri family, he witnesses firsthand the instability and betrayal inherent in the Mafia's pursuit of power. The fall of Frank Coletti and the eventual betrayal by those Tommy considered brothers are poignant reminders of the fragility of identity in a world built on shifting allegiances. These narrative elements prompt players to reflect on the ephemeral nature of power and how it shapes and distorts one's sense of self. Lastly, the existential journey of Tommy Angelo culminates in the game's closing scenes, where he reflects on his life and the choices he made. His final moments, spent in his family's company, underscore the game's exploration of identity beyond the confines of power and ambition. Tommy's narrative arc, from a cab driver to a respected mobster and ultimately a man seeking redemption, mediates the constructs of identity and the possibility of change. It is a poignant reminder that despite the roles we assume and the power we may wield, our actions and the legacy we leave behind define the essence of who we are. Through these examples, Mafia I masterfully engages with existential themes, inviting players to ponder the complex interplay between power, identity, and the quest for meaning in a morally ambiguous world. The game's narrative serves as a canvas for existential reflection, offering a deep, philosophical exploration of the human condition within the captivating framework of a crime saga. In the uncertainty of his initial encounters with the Mafia, Tommy might have experienced a tumultuous blend of fear and intrigue. The allure of danger and power unexpectedly thrust upon him would likely have sparked an internal dialogue about fate and choice. Was this underworld perhaps where he was always meant to end up, or was it a path chosen for him by circumstance? The ease with which he adapted to this life could have led to self-reflection and doubt, pondering what this ease of adaptation said about his true nature. As Tommy became entwined with the Salieri family, the camaraderie and sense of belonging he found with Polly and Sam would have been a bittersweet realization. These relationships, built on shared experiences and loyalty, might have prompted Tommy to question the nature of this loyalty. He likely wrestled with the duality of trust and survival, recognizing the precariousness of bonds forged in the fires of shared criminal endeavors. Each act of violence committed in the name of the family undoubtedly led Tommy to confront his morality. The justifications he told himself, that it was a matter of survival, might have echoed hollowly in moments of solitude. The dissonance between his actions and his inherent sense of right and wrong could have been a source of internal strife, leaving him to grapple with the man he was becoming versus the man he once was. Faced with missions that further blurred moral lines, Tommy's internal conflict would have intensified. The realization that there was no turning back from the life he had chosen could have weighed heavily on him, sparking a desire for redemption or escape. This period of introspection might have been marked by a profound sense of isolation and entrapment within a life that no longer aligned with any remnants of his former self. Tommy's contemplation of betrayal and redemption would have become central to his thoughts as the narrative unfolded toward its climax. The notion of betrayal, especially when weighed against misplaced loyalty, could have led to a profound reckoning with his past actions and their motivations. The decision to stand against the Salieri family, driven by a desire for a semblance of peace or redemption, might have represented a glimmer of hope in the darkness, a chance to redefine his identity and legacy. In the quiet before the storm, reflecting on his journey from a simple cab driver to a mobster entrenched in violence and betrayal, Tommy could have pondered the certainty of his path. The hope for redemption, however slim, might have offered him a sense of closure, an opportunity to confront the consequences of his choices with a newfound resolve. This period of reflection could have been a crucial step towards accepting his past and facing his uncertain future with clarity and purpose. Tommy Angelo's odyssey in Mafia I, from the streets of Lost Heaven as a humble cab driver to the inner circles of the Salieri crime family and finally to a man seeking redemption, serves as a poignant narrative that transcends the boundaries of a mere crime saga. This expanded exploration into Tommy's journey offers a gripping tale of ascent and downfall within the Mafia hierarchy and a profound meditation on the themes of identity, morality, and the human capacity for change. As we trace Tommy's path, we witness a character constantly at odds with the world he has entered and the person he has become. Each chapter of his story reflects the dualities of human nature, the struggle between ambition and morality, loyalty and betrayal, action and introspection. Through the lens of Tommy's experiences, Mafia I masterfully navigates the complexities of the human psyche, engaging players in a narrative that questions not only the choices made by its protagonist but also the very foundations upon which those choices stand. Tommy's internal monologue, inferred through his actions and the critical decisions he faces, adds layers of depth to his character, transforming him from a virtual avatar into a living, breathing individual grappling with the consequences of his life choices. This introspective journey challenges players to reflect on their values and the lengths they would go to protect or betray them in the face of existential threats. This universal resonance elevates Tommy's story from a mere tale of crime to a canvas for exploring more significant existential questions. Furthermore, the conclusion of Tommy's tale, marked by his attempt at redemption and the quest for a semblance of peace, is a testament to the game's exploration of redemption and the possibility of moral salvation. This narrative arc underscores the transformative power of introspection and repentance and invites players to consider the potential for change, even in those who have wandered far from the path of righteousness. In the broader context of Mafia I's richly detailed world, Tommy Angelo's story is a monumental achievement in storytelling, seamlessly blending action, emotion, and moral philosophy. His journey invites players into a profoundly immersive experience beyond the conventional confines of video games to touch on the universal themes of the human condition. It reminds us of the medium's potential to foster empathy, understanding, and, ultimately, a deeper connection to the stories that unfold within our screens. In conclusion, Tommy Angelo's journey through the shadows of the Mafia world is a narrative rich with lessons about the cost of choices, the weight of loyalty, and the quest for identity in a world that often demands the sacrifice of one's morals on the altar of survival. Through Tommy's eyes, Mafia I offers a mirror to the players, reflecting the complexities of life's decisions and the indelible mark they leave on the human soul. It is a story that lingers long after the final credits roll, continuing to inspire contemplation and conversation about the nature of humanity, redemption, and the endless battle between light and darkness within us all. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe to The Cognitive Gamers for more awesome content coming your way. Thank you for watching.